Some people watching this might remember that a few years ago I made headlines when I found a way to turn these LinkNYC kiosks into a broadcast platform. And I'll explain more about this in a minute, but here's my current fun and games. That's the old apology line number that I acquired about a year ago. This number used to connect you to the apology line, conceptual telephone art project hosted by New York City artist Alan Bridge. That's not what you get at number anymore, but that's okay. I'm glad you called. I was friends with Alan Bridge and worked directly with him on Apology back in 1993 and 94. I had the unexpected opportunity to acquire this phone number, 212-255-2748, and I've reestablished it and want it to become, once again, the place for telephone art. And I have a lot of plans for this, but for now I hope you'll enjoy listening to Payphone Radio. So after that little introduction, which I really need to change because it's not very good, doesn't really explain what the hell's going on here. But after that little introduction, you connect to the live stream of my Payphone Radio, and that's what's playing now. But this sort of harkens back to a few years ago when I found a way to blast loud noises out of those things. The one that got the most love was a demented sounding half-speed version of the Mr. Softy ice cream truck jingle. And if you go to my contact page, you should find links to, I think, 5 or 6 stories that Gothamist wrote about this before I fessed up and said I was the one doing it. And I wasn't just blasting ice cream truck jingle music, I was blasting tornado alert sirens and the howler, which is that awful sound you hear if you leave a landline phone off the hook for too long. And that stuff was so loud you could hear it from a block away. And my point in doing this wasn't to be an asshole. And I'm happy to say that I don't think anybody hates me on account of having done that, but my point was to demonstrate that that's just a poorly designed piece of street furniture. My technique for doing it was stupid simple. Although, to this day, I know that a lot of people who are exposed to it still don't understand how the hell I did it, but that doesn't matter. But basically, I'm turning the telephone call feature into a broadcast platform. I'm using the loudspeaker on that thing to just make a phone call and connect to a pre-recorded little ditty that I set up, and that was it. And I'd crank up the volume, of course. In the early days, I did this for, I think, about 10 months, off and on. In the early days, those calls could last as long as 4 hours, which is another bit of stupidity in the product design. But when they finally caught on and were informed via the Gothamist pieces what this is all about. One of their means of retaliation was to cut the call duration down to 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, you'd have to tap the screen to confirm that you were still there. And that's the only regret I have about that little project, was occasionally I'll see people using these things to make calls, which is a horrible experience to begin with, because you have to scream for the person you're talking to hear you. And everybody within 40 feet can hear both sides of the conversation. But aside from that, now they have to tap the screen every 3 minutes to stay connected. And I just think that just adds to the indignity of the experience. And that's all my fault. It's all my fault. So when I say that it was as simple as making a phone call, I mean, ultimately that's true, but it took a lot of planning and a lot of legwork to make it that simple. But ultimately, that's all I had to do. And I was doing this for a long time before social media picked it up and frankly made it look like a much bigger deal than it really was. You know, I didn't endeavor to embarrass anybody, but that's what happened. So my little pursuit now is that I dial into the payphone radio and let that play out as long as it can, which is about 3 minutes. But when I say that the calls lasted 4 hours, that's true, and sometimes people would report hearing just creepy sounds coming out of these machines for hours and hours. But for the most part, people aren't stupid. I'm not saying that the people who reported the hours-long plays are stupid, but they just probably didn't have access to the machine or didn't know what was going on. But for the most part, the calls didn't last long because people aren't stupid, and there's a red button on those machines that people just instinctively knew to press to shut off the noise. But so I've started doing it again, but I'm not really gonna put my heart into it like I did on the first go around, because the payphone radio isn't loud like the other stuff was. But people do notice, though. I still see, if I stand around for a minute or two, I'll still see people stopping and looking at it and asking, what the hell is this? Why is this machine talking to me? So the owners of these machines must have really hated me for a while, but I have it on pretty good authority that at least some of them talked about me like I was a folk hero. I don't know. I guess I can believe that, but their only way of dealing with it for most of the time was, all they could do was sit and wait for people to get on Twitter or wherever and ask them, hey, LinkNYC, why is this ice cream truck music blasting out of every kiosk on 3rd Avenue? At first, I don't think they had any idea what the hell was going on. But when they figured it out, their only retaliation was to block the number that I had called. Because like I said, it was just as simple as making a phone call. But you talk about a game of whack-a-mole, that the quantity of numbers available to me might as well have been infinite. and I could get a new number without even going home, you know. But one time somebody posted on their Twitter page, that or Twitter account, that there was air raid siren noises coming out of every machine on, I think that was Upper East Side, 2nd Avenue, I think. Or no, I think it was First, it doesn't matter. But I was blasting air raid siren noises, and this person made the point that I took to heart, which was that that's actually not too cool. Whatever's going on here, there is a certain segment of society that's going to hear that and really think that a disaster is coming. So I quit playing that sound. I also quit playing the howler sound, because I actually saw people stop and look around, and they thought something bad was about to happen. I just wanted people to think this was crazy and weird, but didn't want to put fear into anybody. So just one last thing, and I'll stop talking about this, because I could talk about these stupid things all day. You can't see the screen. It's another poor design element. But long story short, I vacillate between thinking that I really hit a bullseye with this. I made my point in a way that was disruptive without being destructive. You know, no networks were breached. I didn't hack passwords. I didn't do anything illegal. And I take some pride in that, while others would dismiss it as evidence that it's just lame. But I vacillate between thinking that way, and then thinking that it was a puerile and childish thing to do, and that I went to all this trouble just because I don't like those things. And it's true that I don't like those things. I wanted to. I really wanted that program to do well, but it just doesn't seem like it can. But for the most part, I lean toward thinking I really made my point. And I'm glad it got the coverage when it did, because I was really getting sick and tired of doing it anyway. So I'm done with the softy thing, but going forward, I'm going to connect to my payphone radio just because I can, basically. Yeah, this corner's a mess. The payphone radio thing, by the way, goes through my new PBX. I have a asterisk with the free PBX front end. And normally I just stick to plain asterisk, but long story short, I ended up setting up free PBX thinking it was something different from what it is, but that's okay. I don't mind starting from scratch again if I have to. I probably will someday anyway. But I'm not sure how deep I want to get into asterisks, or why can't I pronounce that? Asterisk. Anyway, so maybe the free PBX front end. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.